Welcome back, everyone. I'm Michael, and today we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This post was created in May of 2023 in the 𝓖𝓐𝓆 subreddit by user 𝓖𝓐𝓆 𝓟 ℛ𝓝. The post is titled 𝓖𝓐𝓆 for refusing to help my wife and her friend anymore over what my wife calls a miscommunication. Fake names. My wife, Emily, has a longtime friend, Leslie, who has recently become a single mother. Leslie does not have a working vehicle at the moment and is working 2 jobs, so Emily took it upon herself to help Leslie out as much as she can. Emily had started asking me to help as well by driving Leslie and her kids around, taking them to school and appointments, and taking Leslie to the grocery store whenever Emily or someone else couldn't. I agreed since it made my wife happy, and I understand the kind of situation Leslie is in. Helping has turned into Emily inviting Leslie and her kids over often or organizing trips that they would enjoy, such as camping or fishing. A few times when my wife was unable to attend these get-togethers she organized due to work, she insisted they still take place, leaving me to entertain Leslie and her kids on my own. Since I've known Leslie my entire relationship with my wife, I didn't think too much about this. During the times that it has been just me with her, or when I was sent in Emily's stead to shuttle Leslie around, I've made normal small talk with her and her kids. Recently, Leslie's kids were going to be away for a weekend, so Emily wanted to have Leslie over for dinner and some movies. She asked me to text Leslie to invite her over, and when I did, Leslie replied with, "Just as friends, right? I'm not interested in being anyone's girlfriend." I thought that response was out of left field, so I asked her why she'd even say that, and her response was essentially, "No guy would be asking me and my kids how we're doing or helping me out unless he wanted something in return." I told Leslie it wasn't anything like that, and then I showed my wife the conversation and informed her that I would be stepping back from helping her with anything involving Leslie and to leave me out of any future plans. I also offered to show her the rest of my phone and anything else. Emily believed me, but she still talked to Leslie about it to see what had given her that impression, and accordingly, Leslie gave Emily the same answer. A few days later, Leslie apologized to Emily and told her that her emotions and mind were just all over the place because of a down day. That's fine, but I'm still not willing to help her or my wife out anymore as I had been because I don't want any repeats or accusations hurled at me when I was helping as my wife asked. Emily thinks I'm overreacting and should just brush it off because it was just a silly miscommunication she had on a bad day. Here's some additional info. The text I sent Leslie about the night was, "Emily wants to know if you'd like to come over for dinner and some movies on Saturday." That's why her response was so out of left field. I sent the text because Emily was busy on her phone and wanted to know as soon as possible so we could make our weekend plans. Edit. Thanks for all the comments and different perspectives. I'll talk to Emily tonight when we get home about the overhelping and what to do going forward. We are not swingers. Leslie knows my wife is completely monogamous. While I will be bringing up concerns about her helping too much, this level of assistance between the two of them has been present for as long as I've known my wife. OP is definitely not the asshole in this event. It's fine to have a bad day and being particularly irritable, but even if it is a misunderstanding, if it leads to someone not wanting to interact with you, then you need to just leave them alone. OP's wife's friend just needs to come to terms that she made a mistake by overanalyzing. As we will soon read, some actually think this is a much more serious situation than me, but basically accusing someone of cheating is just so strange and out of left field, as OP said himself. One user named Roxy Walker left the following comment. NTA and your wife is putting your marriage at risk by continuing to entertain and assist her friend while not realizing that 1, she doesn't sound like she's appreciative, and 2, she might actually be unstable. By asking you to fill in and entertain solo, she is putting you in a difficult position, and that should never happen. She's your wife's friend, not yours. Her texts to you were definitely out of left field, but thank goodness for her erratic behavior, because had she said those things directly to you, your wife likely wouldn't have believed you. The texts, however, paint a much clearer picture of her issues, and your wife shouldn't be so quick to dismiss your concerns. Your wife needs to reevaluate her friendship and establish firm boundaries for all parties involved, because not doing so won't end well. Another user named Mistress Kinks said, "I would never be alone with her again, kids or not. The fact that you are married to her friend and she still asked that question is completely inappropriate. She didn't even say it would be wrong, you're married to my friend. Instead, she said she isn't looking for a boyfriend. So if you had been interested and she was looking, it takes one false accusation to ruin a life. Be firm, be polite, but do not give in. A different comment left by user potential ad 1397 said, "That is such a weird response. Your wife has been helping out, so there obviously had to be some communication between your wife and her friend. Oh, I can't do this for you today, but my husband can help." So why would the friend assume that you wanted something from her? Clearly, you are doing this because your wife asked you. I would step back too. This isn't a miscommunication, this is an accusation. User Hard Tyrant Dinosaur had this to say. This was not a silly miscommunication. This was not a miscommunication at all. She clearly communicated what she thought was going on. This was her misinterpreting the situation. And okay, the misinterpretation may have been because she was having a bad day and a bad year. But regardless of the reason, it's still a problem. No matter why she misinterpreted things, she did. Now that it has been said, it can't be taken back. She had that impression once, and you cannot trust that the impression might not resurface. Stepping back from interacting with her is the prudent course of action. Most definitely, you should start by pulling back from entertaining her and her kids when your wife is not around. You can still be cordial when all of you are together, but your wife needs to take on the role of the entertainment committee. Yes, you should leave yourself out of plans altogether. It is perhaps unfortunate that this also means you won't be able to assist with driving her, but it is what it is. Stepping back here means stepping back all the way. Will this potentially damage the relationship between your wife and Leslie? Yes, it might, but not stepping back presents equal or greater risks to your marriage. Given the choice between the two possibilities, choosing to protect your marriage is the right choice. About 1 month later, OP provided us with an update. Thank you all for your input. There have been some good and not so good outcomes to this issue. My wife and I had a long conversation after I made my original post. I brought up points from both my perspective and possible points from Leslie's perspective that commentators made to explain the situation and why it made me uneasy enough to step back. I showed her the post and she eventually relented. Emily decided she would speak with Leslie again to see if my leaving during a couple of outings or missing one had made Leslie uncomfortable, despite Leslie agreeing ahead of time that she was fine with Emily leaving or not showing up. We also discussed the matter of overhelping. In that regard, Emily wanted to continue helping Leslie as she had been because that level of help is normal for them, but she would stop asking me to help when she couldn't. Instead, she said she would talk to Leslie about getting the kid's father to help out more now that her ex-fiancé was gone. She ultimately agreed that I should have received the apology, but since I'm now hands-off, I didn't see the point in pursuing it. I'm happy to say I have not been volunteered to help or drive since our talk. Emily continued to help Leslie as she was able for a couple of weeks until things took a negative turn. There were a couple of times when neither my wife nor Leslie's other friends were able to give her a ride or help her, and she asked Emily where I was and why I couldn't do it. Emily told her it was best that I didn't, to avoid any future misunderstandings. After the 4th time, Leslie asked my wife to have me drive her or pick things up for her when no one else could. Emily told me that Leslie started saying that if what she said wasn't true, then I wouldn't be avoiding her, and that I was acting as if I had been rejected. According to Emily, Leslie began to draw parallels about how I went out of my way to do things for Emily right before we got together and started helping Leslie, which she claimed was all the proof Emily should need about me having ulterior motives. After that, Leslie devolved into telling Emily that she would wind up being left too. We have minimized contact with Leslie, and Emily told her she needs to do so until Leslie seeks counseling for her breakup and stops having a negative outlook on the relationships around her. Only then can they rebuild their friendship. This has been hard on Emily, so whenever I'm not working, I'm doing what I can to help her get through this. Thank you again, Reddit, for the fresh set of eyes. One user named 𝓖𝓐ၤ 𝓟 ℛ𝓝𝓞 said the following in their comment. The sad thing here is that your wife still isn't taking this behavior directed at you, her husband, seriously. If the problem of communication had been hers, if she had found out and believed you had an affair with her friend, you would have been in deep trouble. Let's be honest, she would have gone mental on you and your marriage would have suffered. However, since nothing happened, she seems okay with this situation, and your feelings do not appear to matter. Her friend's problems take precedence over yours. She fails to understand that these kinds of allegations can destroy marriages and affect you in other areas of your life: job, friends, family. If my wife were as lax about these matters and prioritized friendship over our marriage and kids, I wouldn't just be hurt, I would be really angry. There are times when men need to put their foot down and stop simping, no matter how much they love their significant other. When you don't check your spouse from time to time when they're crossing boundaries, they tend to believe they can get away with anything and start to lose respect for you. In response to that comment, another user named 𝓖𝓐𝓝 said this: "I really fail to see how losing a friend who is clearly trying to mess with her marriage is a cause for a breakdown for this man's wife. It's such a big deal that she needs his complete support, and who knows, probably even a therapist, just because this Leslie girl is indiscriminately throwing serious accusations against her husband. She cannot take the necessary step to cut Leslie out of their lives. Mr. OP, always check who your wife is spending time with, and remember that misery loves company. This Leslie girl is dangerous, and you have to be walking on eggshells around her because your wife is not going to take the necessary steps to distance herself from this toxic influence. When Leslie returns, she will likely do so with a vengeance. Mark my words. I definitely think it's better to be safe rather than sorry, so taking all necessary precautions is advised. Personally, I wouldn't go as far as to completely cut off contact and never ever talk to Leslie again, but I would definitely try to avoid her as much as possible. Just like how one person commented, this could lead to a false assault accusation in the future. The initial accusations in the first post are not something a normal person would say, so you can't immediately throw away the possibility that this friend could jump to more extreme conclusions in the future. Something in her mind is messed up. It might be trauma, or it might be something else. Regardless, I do think it's important to be diligent here. One accusation and OP's life can be ruined. In such a situation, he would be guilty until proven innocent. He needs to find out how to document all of his interactions with Leslie if they somehow accidentally come into contact with each other. That was the final update we got from OP, so I'm not sure if the friendship was ever built back up or if OP was able to completely cut her off without drama. This next post was created less than a week ago from the time of this recording. The user is now deleted, but it was posted in the trueoffmychest subreddit. The story is titled, "I just saw my brother in a porno." No, this isn't a troll post. I'm the big sister to my brother. I'm 28 and he's 19 and in college. I moved out of my parents' house a while ago, but when I do see him, he seems to be doing well. He's really active and has a healthy and happy relationship with his girlfriend from what I've seen. Back home, I'm married to my wife. We don't have any kids, but we have 2 dogs that we adore. We both watch porn together, as strange as some people may find it. It helps us have a more intimate experience in bed. What my partner enjoys most is gay porn. Just as straight men often find lesbian porn appealing, we can appreciate the opposite. When we both have time, we like to search for porn beforehand. That way, when the moment comes, we don't have to look for something that turns us both on. Recently, my partner showed me a video she was interested in. When I saw it, I wanted to vomit because it was my brother. It was him, naked and blindfolded, masturbating and being slapped by another man. It was incredibly disturbing to see, and when I told my wife, she felt the same way. I don't even really know what to do from here. On one hand, he's my younger brother for my whole life. On the other hand, it's his own life and he's now an adult. For now, I'm keeping this to myself. I don't want to shame my brother for this, and I especially don't want to tell my extremely traditional Chinese parents for fear of how they would react. This is definitely a wild thing to stumble across. I think that there are several options here to approach the situation, but the obvious two are to tell the brother or to ignore everything. I think that it's going to depend on the level of quote-unquote trauma this has caused OP. If OP isn't exactly too affected by this discovery mentally, then it may be best to just leave it. On the other hand, if it's something on her mind constantly, which I suspect it is, then it might be best to actually talk to her brother. I'm not sure if I missed it, but it seems that OP's parents don't know that her brother is gay or bi. I feel at some point they're going to find out. And it's better to reveal these kinds of secrets rather than keep them hidden. It seems that OP loves her brother very much, so if she was the one who brought up the situation first, maybe he would handle it better. Of course, I doubt anyone can handle such a situation calmly. Something that I am confused about is that OP said that she fears her traditional parents will find out about this. OP did say she has a wife, so I would imagine that they would handle her brother similarly. One user named 𝓖𝓐𝓝 shared their experience with a somewhat similar situation. You'd be surprised. I knew a married couple who had a wild sex life, including swinging and swapping with friends. One night, they were home watching some porn online and stumbled upon a video of the wife bound with several men doing vile and degrading things to her. She was clearly drugged in the video, partially unconscious for much of it, but at one point, she called out asking where her husband was. She had no recollection of the events, including how she ever got home. She had been roofied in a bar and practically carried out by these guys, all caught on the bar's surveillance camera. She knew the next day that she had been assaulted the night before and did go to the police then, but finding that video several weeks later and seeing what had been done to her was unimaginably horrifying. From that point, the FBI got involved. I don't know what ultimately came of it, and I'm not about to ask. I'm thankful she's alive and mostly unharmed, but their lives have been permanently changed. Another user named 𝓖𝓐₦ 𝓟 ℛ𝓝𝓞 said, "First things first, ensure his safety. Second, please don't tell your parents. As someone from a very traditional Hispanic household, I had to hide many things my little brother did because I know how my parents are. For example, smoking weed, coming home late, etc. But definitely check on him to make sure he's okay. Ensure he's not doing this because he's being extorted, depressed, or because he needs money for whatever reason." A user named 𝓵𝓟 then asked OP a question. "You watch porn, but are upset when someone you know is in porn? They're real people, not just random NPCs on the internet." To this, OP said, "I'm just saying it's still my brother. I know he's an adult now. I'm not saying I'm upset at him for something like this. It's just such a bizarre scene to me that it makes me feel bad." A different user then left this comment under OP's response. "Coming across a family member in porn, let alone kinky porn, would be jarring for anyone. I'm sure OP is well aware that real people do porn, but not everyone considers the possibility that someone so close to them does. I would be just as taken aback and disgusted if I saw such a vulnerable scene that clearly wasn't meant for my eyes. It would also be hard to reconcile that you don't really know everything about someone you thought you did, though of course that is to be expected." Another comment left under this post was by a user named 𝓖𝓐₦ ℟𝓝𝓚4761. "I love how you're both absolutely fine consuming content from a cruel and exploitative industry, but as soon as it's someone you care about, you're disappointed in the human race. You're both hypocritical. Every one of those actors is someone's child or sibling. Your partner was quite happy to watch someone getting slapped around, and now all of a sudden you're worried about questions around consent, drugs, coercion, and shame. But it was fine when you didn't know them, right? Not your problem then." After reading some of these comments, I had to go back and reread the original post. At first, I didn't really get the vibe that she was disgusted by the act, but more so just shaken. I definitely think it's hypocritical for her to be disgusted by something like this if she and her wife watch themselves. And just like how I mentioned earlier, I found it weird that OP is in a gay relationship, but still said she didn't want her parents to find out about her brother being gay or bi as well. I feel like there is a lot of context missing from this post. It's unfortunate that the account is now deleted, but even before that, I don't think OP provided any updates. This next post was also made in the trueoffmychest subreddit. The post was created the same day of this recording by a user named 𝓿𝓐𝓚807. The post is titled, "Girlfriend broke up with me because I'm a failure. My girlfriend, 25F, broke up with me, 25M, 10 days ago. Nothing in my life works out for me. After high school, I had to drop out for a few years because I needed to gather funds for my commercial pilot training. Finally, almost 3 years after high school, I got it done and went for my training. Unfortunately, I had a pre-existing medical condition that I didn't realize would affect my training, and a few months in, I had to stop because of it. I came back to my home country, and she moved to that country for her further studies. After I got back, I became severely depressed. Seeing nothing in my life work out put me down so badly. She was the only one I hoped and wished to marry. She was the only light in my life. We were together for 2 years. She was someone I adored and loved so much. Almost 10 days ago, I asked her about when we would marry, and we ended up having a bad argument. Things were said on both sides, and somehow I was made out to be the worst person ever to exist. She forgot all of the moments of how I treated her and how I was with her. I was so good to her. I never raised my voice at her except during the last fight we had. That was probably the first time I raised my voice at her in the last 2 years. I always used to speak with her so respectfully, even when she was irritated at me or mad at me for trivial reasons. I used to get her whatever she wanted. If she said it once, I'd make sure she got it. I used to spoil her with gifts and food every time until she moved to another country for her studies. I don't know how to live without her. She made so many promises. When I met her, she was heartbroken, depressed, and not herself, and I helped her pick herself back up, but when I needed her the most, she left me. It hurts so much. I keep crying, I don't even know why. The tears keep dripping, and I just don't have any control over them. I can't do this life anymore. Life has been so rough for me. I don't feel like eating, I can't sleep, I haven't showered in the last 3 weeks. I just don't have the energy in me to get up and push myself anymore. I just want to stop feeling this pain. I wish I could just die somehow and get it over with. This guy just kept drawing the short end of the stick over and over in life. This is going to be blunt, but the truth is she just wasn't meant for you. The quote-unquote perfect match for you is the one that will stick by your side when you're at your lowest. It's not like OP was being a slacker and disregarding his responsibilities. He has a health condition that has sidelined him, but before that he was going through pilot training, which is not an easy task. In the middle of writing this, I was thinking to myself that maybe she lashed out because she had something she was hiding, like possibly cheating on OP, and she just saw this as an opportunity to cut off the relationship without being found out for her wrongdoing. That is a lot of assumption, but I have heard of situations where someone is doing something very wrong, and as a result, they act violently towards others because they feel guilty with themselves. Heartbreak sucks, but just like with any other hurdle in your life, you cannot allow it to dictate how you live for the rest of your life. Cry and dope around for a while, but realize that the only way you'll feel better is by moving on. The final post for today was made in the trueoffmychest subreddit by a throwaway account. This post was created 1 week from the time of this recording. It's titled, "My husband just left me because he's been hit on by a woman for the first time in his life. God, I am so angry at, I don't know, everything right now, and this feels so messed up. I don't even want to talk to my BFF about this right now. I'm hurting too much at the moment. My husband just told me he is leaving me, and I can't believe the reason. I need to give some background. I am 34F and my husband is 38M. We've been married for almost 2 years and dated for 2 years before that, so overall a bit more than 4 years. He's always been very insecure about himself even though he has a great personality, or so I thought. Is generous, caring, can express his emotions and all this stuff. When I got to know him better, I couldn't believe he wasn't taken. In fact, he had only been in 2 relationships in his life, both 5+ years long though. He told me that's because he's shy and ugly and women don't really want anything from him like ever, especially not good looking ones. I am fairly conventionally attractive and he has kept telling me for the past years how lucky he feels to finally have found his dream woman and then her being as attractive as me. I was wary at the beginning though, so I let him court me quite a bit before going out with him for the first time, etc. I really was fearing some dark secret of his that I just hadn't uncovered yet, plus I didn't want to look easy. But it turns out, no. He's a really sweet guy and just very shy. I also don't think he's ugly. He's not in any way super handsome or so, and frankly, originally I thought he was not my type, but his charm melted all of that away quickly. Once we started thoroughly dating, things went fast because it all was so wonderful. Well, apparently a while ago, he was on his own in the outside area of a restaurant having lunch when this woman went by and apparently struck up a conversation with him. He's shown me a picture of her since I asked him, and she is drop dead gorgeous. Maybe I am exaggerating because I am so mad, but she definitely looks better than me, I have to admit. He didn't tell me much about what they talked about, just that she was very friendly and they exchanged numbers and started texting more and more often. He says she at some point openly started pursuing him even though she knew he was married, saying she just really fell for him and can't let this opportunity pass. He said that he was hesitant once he realized that she was hitting on him, and he was also excited because this literally has never happened in his life. In the past, he repeatedly said that women, at least attractive ones like me, have it easy because we can lean back and let the guys approach us, whereas for him, it was always hard work to even get a single date. I always replied that it's not really like that and that being attractive has its own problems, but he then always reminded me of the fact that he had to work really hard to get me to date him too. He swears he has only met her one more time, for lunch, after the first encounter, and that he thinks it is not yet an affair. However, he thinks he wants to go forward with her because, as he put it, this is the first woman who is genuinely interested in me. I didn't have to text her for 3 months to get a date or anything. I can't let this pass, or something along those lines. My memory is a bit hazy. The 3 months refers to the time it took him to get a date with me, by the way. And that is why he says he is breaking up with me. He says it's the right thing to do because he wants to continue contact with her, but also feels doing that would be emotional cheating, and he doesn't want to cheat on me, so he ends it before actually starting something with her. I feel devastated. I know there's nothing I can do. I want to be mad at him, but I am also mad at myself. I really liked him when we first met. Why did I give him a hard time? If I had said what I wanted back then, if I had pursued him instead of playing hard to get, he probably wouldn't be interested in that woman. But I always felt if a woman does that, she shows she's easy, and I didn't just want to get laid, so I thought I must act that way, and now it is biting me in the butt. And I, of course, am very mad at him, but he didn't even cheat on me. He's behaving exactly the way I always say people should act when they fall in love with someone else. Ugh, I kind of wish he had actually cheated on me with her. That would actually make it easier. Thanks for letting me rant. I don't need advice. I know I'm screwed. Edit, holy crap, this blew up so much. First, thank you all so much for your comments. This is much appreciated. And also, some of you made me really think. I still feel this was unwarranted, and if he was so unhappy, he should have told me, but I guess I wasn't as good of a wife as I thought. I didn't really show him that I love him and why, and didn't put in much effort, and someone said he was starving for attention, and I guess that's my fault in a way. Ugh. Still, I think just dropping me like this isn't right. I managed to get the courage to talk to my BFF, and we'll meet later so I can tell her everything, and she spontaneously will take me out for a spa weekend. I hope I can get my head clear there. I was so scared, but she was not at all condescending. She's the best. I feel like I couldn't have mustered up the courage for that were it not for all your support. So thank you all so much, even the critical ones. OP told us at the end that she may have been able to show a bit more love and affection towards her husband. This lack of affection may have caused him to get inside of his own head. Her husband not being confident in himself at nearly 40 years of age is insane. He needs to take responsibility and start building up his own confidence, instead of just being content with low self-esteem. I do feel this is a bit of a cop-out on the husband's part. Instead of taking the hard path and developing himself, he's just jumping onto a different woman who is showing him attention. The guy is acting like a baby. It almost feels as though he's having a midlife crisis. A week after that first post, OP provided an update. A couple of days ago, I posted here about my husband suddenly leaving me because, well, he experienced for the first time that a woman actually showed active interest in him. Since links are not allowed in this subreddit, please check my profile for my post history. Yesterday, my husband and I met for the first time since he up and left last Friday. Frankly, after the meetup, I was very shaken, so it took me until today to be able to write about this. Since so many people have reached out to me with helpful comments and all, I think you deserve an update, but I really wasn't up to it yesterday. Also, this is really long, so sorry in advance, there's just so much to cope with. So here we go. The situation felt very awkward, and I got the impression the whole time that he genuinely feels sorry for how things are, and that what he is doing hurts me. I know many of you said he's a douche, a cheater, and whatnot, and I really understand you and am mad at him myself, but on the other hand, you all do not know him like I do. He's a very honest person. He despises lying and is really bad at it. He carries his heart on his sleeve, and I know him well enough to sense his feelings. Did that help me? Not much. Now, even if I wished, I couldn't paraphrase our talk, and I am sure I will miss certain things. Overall, it was a mixture of him telling and me asking questions, and all is a big flurry in my head, so I'll just summarize, I guess. First, he told me that he really loved me, and he still does, but he feels that his feelings for the new woman are stronger. He told me her name. Let's call her Jasmine, not her real name. He admits Jasmine is gorgeous, but claims that that on its own was in no way relevant to his decision. Yeah, right. He told me that she originally approached him because of a book he was reading during lunch. Supposedly, the book's author is her uncle, and she was able to tell my husband some funny stories about the time her uncle drafted that book. He says he and Jasmine have very similar interests. Jasmine also reads sci-fi like he does because of said uncle, who is a sci-fi author, and both like gaming and stuff. He says that after they exchanged numbers, they initially only wrote about topics like that, and later on, they talked about other hobbies and interests and found more and more common ground, as he put it. He also admitted that about 2 weeks ago, he started to wonder if he should actively tell me about her, seeing how she turned from an acquaintance to what he deems a friend. I interjected that they don't know each other long enough to consider her a friend, but he says he feels Jasmine is really genuine with him. This is a man who cannot pick up social cues unless they are spelled out for him, but whatever. He also feels a lot more in tune with Jasmine than he does with me. Admittedly, we seem to have fewer common interests, but I never felt like I had to be exactly like my partner. Opposites can complement each other well, and I always felt we did. Well, it looks like he feels much happier with someone catering to his interest a lot more. He also became a bit self-critical then. He says that after he left for his friend's place, he sat down and reread his conversation history with Jasmine, and he realized that she had indeed been flirting with him before she told him she wanted more. It didn't start out flirtatious, but he admits he totally missed that. He opened up the app on his phone and showed me the beginning and then when she started flirting. He might have tuned out the messages, but at least the beginnings are really read friendly. The flirtatious parts, however, were blatantly obvious in my eyes, but he actually blames himself for that and says that while that doesn't change his feelings for her, it means he should have noticed this earlier and, well, he said, make the decision to pursue her earlier. That sort of broke me, and I started sobbing because it sounds as if I never had a chance compared to Jasmine. He even wanted to console me, and I allowed that for a couple of minutes, but then I sought some distance again. It both felt good and bad to be in his arms. Then it was time to ask him why she is so attractive to him that he would leave me, his wife, for just the mere possibility of being with another woman. I mentioned that someone, I didn't say Reddit, suggested she might be a scam or just interested in breaking up marriages and going after men who are taken, and such. He, of course, vehemently denied that. Supposedly, they met last Sunday to go out for dinner and they talked about the fact that she approached him even though he is married. She claims to have a really bad conscience about this and that she never would have done it had she not felt such a deep connection between them, blah blah blah. I must admit I really struggled through that part because if it is true, it hurts me, and if it isn't, it hurts even more that he falls for nonsense. He then told me in excruciating detail about his dating life, how long he was a virgin, and how he was always treated by girls back in middle school and high school, and by the women in college and later on. He really feels that he always has to be the one initiating, fighting, even for a chance, and he felt like he was always treated as unworthy by almost all women, which made him bitter. He admitted that. He also expressed that he always thought someone who truly fits him, fits his personality, his character, his being, would be someone who would not make him jump through hoops. Someone who would outright tell him she is intrigued by him and wants him. He says he loves me dearly and has always been very grateful for being with me, but that even with me, he always felt somewhere between a beggar and the subject of a pity party where I bestowed the grace of my companionship onto him instead of actually liking and wanting him. When I asked him whether that means he settled for me, he vehemently denied that. He said when we started to date, I really treated him better than any woman had done before, so he truly thought this was what he had been looking for, and before meeting Jasmine, he never felt like he needed more. I, of course, tried to tell him that I am not with him out of pity or anything and explained why I made him wait 3 months and why I think the man should court the woman and so forth. I also admitted that I might not have given him the appreciation he deserved. This time, it actually was his turn to shed some tears. He said hearing that made him both grateful and unhappy that he never really communicated better about this. I told him that hearing him say that feels like he is putting the blame on me. I swear to God, his eyes seemed to double in size and he looked genuinely shocked. He apologized many times and said he did not want me to think he actually has any bad feelings about having to wait back then and that this is a situation where no one is to blame, especially not me. He said I have been a wonderful wife and all, but that with Jasmine, it just feels different, like a deeper connection than the two of us have. While he thought that I was wonderful, he now realizes that what he really was looking for in life was something else. So he says reconciliation is not really an option because he realized that we're not right for each other. Even if it doesn't work out with Jasmine, he knows now that he actually needs something that I just am not. I mentioned marriage counseling and he said that it's not like our marriage has issues, but that the issue is that we're just not right for each other. There were more things we said and maybe I'll add some later, but right now I am too mentally exhausted. Especially because I still don't feel like I can hate him. He felt so incredibly honest. I think he at least truly believes all the things he said, but that woman still might be a total liar or a scam. He at least promised to be careful with her financially, but he assured me she's not that. I don't know what to make of any of this. It hurts. I guess my marriage is over. A user named 𝓖𝓐𝓆 said this, let him go. I guarantee you he will eventually do the same thing to this Jasmine woman. In all honesty, he's weak and she's an awful human being. Let them both learn their lessons without you watching, and don't take him back. Don't ever let him touch you again, and only communicate through your attorneys. Get everything you deserve from your shared assets. It shouldn't matter how long he was a virgin just because some stranger bats her eyelashes at him. You deserve better, and I hope you have a wonderful life. Another user named 𝓐𝓆127 left this comment. At this point, it's time to gray rock him. No contact except through lawyers. This is closure for him to make himself feel better for treating you like trash. None of this will help you mentally, especially since you're still defending him and blaming yourself. This all falls directly on him and her. Do not keep putting yourself through this mental anguish. Neither of them is worth it. Get into therapy, file for divorce, and have him served. Mute his notifications and go no contact with him. Staying in contact is only prolonging your healing while he's already moved on with the home-wrecking woman. Then another user named 𝓖𝓐𝓆6456 said the following. Your husband or ex-husband really sucks. He left you because someone hit on him, even when he was married. You deserve so much better than that. And the woman, she sucks too. She knew he was married and still pursued him. They're both bad people. Please know that none of this is your fault. Your ex-husband is a weak-minded man, and one of these years, he will come crawling back, whether he believes it or not, because he'll realize he fucked up. You may not have the strength now, but you will one day move on away from this. One other comment by user 𝓖𝓐𝓆 said this in their comment. I'll probably get downvoted for saying this, but it seems like this is working out for the best. I went back to read your original post and your husband didn't lie or cheat. As soon as he caught feelings, he immediately told you and broke it off out of respect for you. Honestly, his logic even makes sense. I think a lot of women probably can't relate to how soul-crushing it can be to always be the one to initiate with a man. If you're always initiating, that means you're likely being rejected frequently and often. It sucks that this happened, but I don't think he really did anything wrong. He was completely honest throughout the entire process, and you yourself acknowledged that you didn't make him feel desired at first. Of course, he denied that. From his perspective, you're the one who settled for him. I want to make it clear that I don't think you're a bad person, OP. The situation sucks, but the reactions from all parties involved make total sense. Is it really a shock that your husband wants to leave because he feels like he has to fight for your affection? Do you really want to be in a relationship with someone who feels like they have to fight for your affection? Regardless of who is to blame for what, it's clear this relationship is beyond salvaging. And that was the most recent update thus far. This final update was made on the same day of this recording, so maybe in the near future we will hear more.